started with the right-hand side, so the high one. So we were a little nervous. Second one, it got a little closer, and then you see what the low one is. That is still about 10,000 over the estimate. So it really comes down to, you see the recommendation that I give is to give it to the low bidder, but you do really have two options if you choose to. I mean, we could reject them all and go back and try to get it lower. And the only thing that would really get it lower, I think, is I don't know if you have them in this packet. No. I think previously I had kind of given you what the restroom was going to look like. It was 2 separate restrooms, or 2 facilities, okay? We could reduce it and just take it down to 1, which is going to reduce the cost of the building. That requires rebidding it that way. Or you could accept the low bid, and we could, in essence, try to negotiate with the low bidder, which would be Bainbridge in this case, to see if we can't do some value engineering on it and reduce it that way. Or we live with the 100,000, 655.
Several options, in other words.
Yeah, so you see what I recommend you award it to Bainbridge. And if there is a way to reduce it, we reduce it.
It's only 10%.
Yeah, it's not extremely
It's not extremely high. Bainbridge is qualified.
Yeah.
And they're all bidding on apples to apples.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
so the building we get is the building we get.
Yep.
Now, I'm not big on value engineering. I've never been big on value engineering. The term kind of bothers me a little bit, because all that means is cutting quality, or cutting back somewhere that whoever designed it, whoever bid it, said this is what it's going to cost me to do a quality job. So, no, I'm fine with 10%. Sounds like a lot, but truth of the matter is it's 2 bathrooms. It's a pretty good sized project, really.
Yeah, and there is a chance that they could even start at this, if weather holds.
This fall, yeah.
They still could start. And I'm assuming all that would be getting, because there's sanitary that's got to be installed, there's water that has to be installed, so some of those things. I can't imagine they would start the building.
These are going to be winterized bathrooms, though, right? They're going to be closed down October 1st until, okay, I thought so. They're not going to be 365, okay.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2041, awarding contract for the 2020 Cleveland Park Restroom Improvement Project to Bainbridge Construction out of Kingsley in the amount of $100,655.50.
Was that 2042, isn't that right, Bev?
Oh.
Yeah, that's all right.
Can we just change that, or do I have to start over?
No, you're all right. I'll take care of it.
Second to the motion.
Motion made and second to adopt resolution number 20-42.
Thank you.
Awarding the contract for the 2020 Cleveland Park Restroom Improvement Project to Bainbridge Construction in the amount of $100,655.50. Do we have a roll call on that, Ben?
Goodchild?
Yes.
Wick?
Yes.
Knapp?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And if anybody wants to know, at the end of that project, we're going to have a nice park up there.
Boy, we are.
We have one right now.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what,
This will be,
Yeah.
so it's,
and it's been used already.
you bet.
Clark, it was
We're
a
gonna have
very
nice
good
park,
move.
So,
Another project that is certainly went along with our program, what we call quality of life for people. Okay, moving on to the second one is the Airport Reconstruction Runway 1836 project. The city has received notification from the FAA to initiate work on the Airport Capital Improvement Program fiscal year 21. Reconstruct Runway 18-36 project. The FAA letter and project data sheet is attached. Carl Byers and Ronald Wilson of the Bolton and Mink will be available. Are they available by phone?
Are you there, Carl?
This is Ron Retzel. Yeah, Carl had a personal item that came up with his family,
Okay.
and so he's not able to call in, but I'm here today.
Okay, we've got Ron Rensel. The recommendation is the administration is requesting council approval to proceed and authorizing administration to execute an engineering service agreement with Bolton and Ming. The agreement will come to council for approval at the November 17th, 2020 meeting. And Jason, you want to expand on this just a little bit? Where we just received notice on this go-ahead last week, I think.
Yeah. The project, I don't know how far we have to go back, but this project, I don't think initially, every year we have to give an AIP, which is Airport Improvement Program, submit that to FAA. A couple years back, the need to do something with our existing runway came up because it's in a state where it just keeps deteriorating. It's starting to get beyond repair of it. And the FAA puts a score on runways, and that score has gotten considerably worse over the last couple years. So it might have been maybe a year ago, I think we met, there was an aviation, I don't know if it was maybe statewide. Dick, I think you came down there.
Statewide. I think that was the one in Sioux City, wasn't it?
It was in Sioux City, so we had gone down and met with FAA personnel regarding the condition of our runway. So at that time, we put it on our list of projects that essentially needed to get done in the hope of getting funding for it. You see the price tag, there's no way we could do it without assistance. So there was always that question of, okay, is the FAA going to okay it, or are they not going to okay it? Is the money going to be there? And it always hinged on getting this go letter from the FAA. So it was late Thursday maybe that go letter finally came in, which is the FAA saying, hey, you can go ahead and start this project. So that's what's included. I included the go letter there. I had a conversation with both Carl and Ron Friday, I believe, regarding this. And since then, both Carl and Ron have set up a meeting with, who is it, Ron? Is it Anthony?
Yes, it's with Anthony as well as with Jeff.
Okay. So we're going to discuss it with them even further. It's a pretty tight schedule, as you can see on the second page of that letter. But you see what the first step is that needs to be completed on our part by December 7th is having an engineering agreement in place and submitted to the FAA. And that's what I'm asking for here, well, twofold. Yes, it's council approval to yes, it's a project that we're going to do. And second, to work with both Carl and Ron to get that agreement in place and submitted to the DNR. Now we have a council meeting December 1st, so that agreement would come back to council yet before it needs to be submitted to the FAA. But you see it is a 90-10 split there. I didn't do the math for you, but you can figure out what the 10% is.
The green area that we're looking at is proposed to take the old runway out.
Yes, it doesn't, it does not affect what we just built.
That was going to be my question, yeah.
Yeah, that will stay.
At one time, when I was on the airport board, the taxiway had to be redone. Has that been redone, or?
Yeah, no, that keeps, I didn't include that. I didn't include that, Ken, but that, like I said, that AIP needs to be updated every year and submitted. And I'm assuming that will come, what did I write here? That will come to the full council next council meeting. That's where we put our projects in order of importance. And that is still on there.
Yeah, good.
It might even be, what is next? Maybe apron, might be a 2024. And I think a taxiway, 25, 26, somewhere in there. So that still is on our project list.
Usually these aviation things get backed up a year or two before they actually get done. We anticipating that again, or
Yeah.
money flowing good?
It's hard to tell. You never know.
Yeah.
That question, to be very honest with you, Ken, we've got a tremendous committee that works with this on the airport. And I might add that the total project cost is estimated at $4,085,100. Funding is a 90-10 split, with the city using TIF for its share. But the FAA approved funding is currently at $3,550,590. And the reason that is because they are not sure that the total $4 million will be in the budget, right, from the federal area.
Well, that was, Ron can maybe shed a little bit light on that. That was part of the discussion Friday, was, how certain is this money? And both Carl and Ron, I think, had said they wouldn't, and we'll find out more when we have that meeting with Anthony and Jeff. But I would basically, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, we wouldn't get the go letter unless they were confident that the money's there.
The full amount?
Yeah, so now, yes. So, and that number could change, that 4 million, because there really is, that's for, I believe, the current number for complete removal of the existing runway. So removing all the concrete, crushing it, and then using that material as a subbase for the new runway, which would be concrete. A second option is to do a PCC overlay of it, which could change that number. And then the third option, which I think is probably unrealistic, is asphalt. But, so that number, like I said in that last thing, the final funding will be based off of actual bids. That's when the FAA will lock in that, that's when they'll lock in the number, when actual bids come in.
So they will allow white topping as an option?
Yes.
Yeah.
How thick?
Ron, do you know how thick are white tops usually?
Well, yeah, that'll be part of the overall design, but typically it'll be 6 to 8 inches.
Okay.
Depends on what we find when we do the geotech of the existing concrete that's there.
And then if you did an overlay, you would have to do the new part too. It would have to be done, right?
Oh, I don't.
Well, there'd be a difference in heights.
I'm assuming so. Would we have to, the portion that we the extension that we did, Ron, would that, if white topping was the path we took, would the new portion get the same overlay?
Not necessarily. We would look at a transition into that to match the grades that are there, because we've already established the the approach elevations on that end. We don't want to disturb them. We don't want to mess that up of getting our new approach by December on that side.
How do you do that and not have a 6-inch bump, which I'm guessing doesn't work real well with aircraft? I mean, how do you transition?
It'll change the center line of the grade of the runway slightly. We'll make a smooth, we'll make a gradual transition into it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because I think, it could be completely wrong, so maybe I shouldn't even say it. But I'm thinking what we just added on to it, I don't know if we technically call that typically isn't a place where a plane would land or take off from. That's usually the
Turnaround.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So where exactly a plane's wheels hit, I don't know if it gets into this.
It would add a little more flood control, white topping.
Thing I look at on this thing, it's, they're willing to look at 90% of the cost, and we're paying, we're talking $4 million, so.
400 grand, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, and we are to a point, we get, we get allocated money every year from government. It's $150,000 a year to do things. And we've reached our max of that to a point where we would lose $70-some thousand if we didn't use it this year.
And we understand it doesn't include engineering costs. Anything that the federal government has proposed.
Was there engineering in there, Ron?
I thought there was some on the back.
Yeah, the total amount does include the engineering cost,
I thought so.
including the go letter, yes.
Okay.
Jason, is it too soon to wonder how long the project's going to take and what happens to air traffic while the airport's down?
Do we know that question came up this morning too? In a typical case like this, Ron, the airport would be shut down. Do we know approximate time, duration of time?
Yeah, right, because there's a single runway. Of course, the runway itself will be shut down, and that it really depends upon what's the method of runway pavement rehab that we use. If it's an overlay, it'll be less time. If it's a total reconstruct, then of course it'll take more time. So I would guess anywhere between 3 to 6 to 7 months. Depends on the weather and that. So of course our goal is to minimize that as much as possible because we don't want Blue Bunny to be down for very long.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jason or Ron?
$70,000 that we get reduced every year, we used to refer to that as the negative credit card. It's a cash back credit card that if you don't use it, you don't get the cash back. So we have to use it, but typically on these projects also, we've found that the $4 million isn't going to get it done. It never seems to get it done. So whatever the number is we get funded, we get to pay the extra, if I'm not mistaken. So if it goes to 4.3, we're going to pay $800,000 versus $400,000. But then if we can use some of this credit card money, let's call it, to use for some of the overflow, that would be nice to know while we're going through the project. So just thinking ahead.
Questions on
Yeah,
that?
if I could add some to that comment about the funding side of it. The grant itself will be dependent on the actual bid amount for the project. If there are cost overruns, typically FAA has roughly 15% to work within that grant to still cover it under 9010. We work very hard to not have additional costs like that, especially up to 15%. And so we like to, that's why it's very important to have that meeting with FAA to totally define the project up front.
You're a blessed individual, that's all I can say. If you can get that done, You don't have
There you
any
go.
argument about the engineering fees from this guy, which is totally a negative engineering guy, so go get your 15% coverage and we're good.
I think you just answered his question, Ron. And we encourage you to keep working in that direction.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the airport?
Motion to approve airport reconstruction runway 18-36 project and authorizing the administration to execute an engineering service agreement with Bolton and Mink.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the airport reconstruction runway 18-36 project and authorizing administration to execute the engineering services agreement with Bolton and Mink. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
So this will, so next, I
Thank you
mean,
very much.
Thanks, Ron. I appreciate your input into this.
yeah, so there'll be more coming back to the council as it needs to, so.
Okay. That ends the action items, and so we're going to move on to discussion. Mike, do you have anything today?
Nothing today.
Clark?
Transload payments. Where's that at?
When is our meeting? Friday?
We've got a conference call set up with Steve Meyer, the Chief Financial Director, Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. I visited with him, what is today, Tuesday, last Friday, and it's set up and ready to go between Jason, Jacob, Neil Adler, and myself. As to the progress, where they're at.
Yep.
Does that answer your question, Aqua?
Yep, for now.
Anything else?
No.
Rex?
The twig, branch, and grass site, it was a wonderful hub of activity last Saturday morning, to say the least. The sign, I believe, still says November 1st it's done, but I believe the radio reported it wasn't done on November 1st. It goes through November.
Yes.
It's on the bottom here.
It's right on the bottom.
I
Yep,
know,
so
but-
once we get November 1st, we add the weather permitting to it.
Well, but it's just easy to see the November 1 when you drive in. That's all I'm saying. Is there, I mean, if there's some way we can